Good evening, healers, and welcome back to the Healing Out Loud podcast. I'm your host, Polly Speaks. And before we get started, I want to welcome all of our new listeners to our healing family. We welcome you with love and light. Please be sure to subscribe, like, and share this podcast with your family and friends. Let's continue to make this world a better place. Guys, without further ado, I want to bring you today's topic. It's healing through forgiveness, letting go of what hurt you. My question for you today is, how did you heal? For me, I had a good old cry, a scream, a why me moment. Once I was able to recognize my feelings, I was able to address it and release them. The moment truly did pass quickly, and I continued my day. Wouldn't it be so much easier if we could yell about what hurt us and move on quickly? That would be amazing. And sometimes it is that simple. But we let the moment last longer than what it should be. Now, why is that? So guys, in this episode, we devolve into the transformative power of forgiveness. We will explore how releasing the weight of past hurts can lead to profound emotional healing and personal growth. We'll start by discussing the common misconception surrounding forgiveness, such as the belief that it requires reconciling with those who have wronged us. Instead, we'll emphasize that forgiveness is primarily an act of self-liberation, allowing you to break free from those chains. Now, earlier, I used the keyword moment. So let's define the word. Webster defines the word as a very brief period of time. So if the moment is brief, why do we remain hurt for so long? Guys, I'm going to take you through a personal journey in my life. So I want to say, buckle up and take the ride with me, as this is part of my healing. And maybe it will help you or someone else. In November of 2011, my dad passed away. The people who I expected to show up for me didn't. I lost myself. I went through anxiety and depression. The voice of "end your life, Polly," spoke very loud. And I tried, but I did not succeed. Before I tried, I called a friend to talk. Her words, "It's just a loss." What, are you crazy? How can a friend, and I'm using air quotes, and I wish you guys could see the air quotes, but how could a friend tell a friend that it's just a loss? How can a friend ask a friend, "What, are you crazy?" You would think that when someone reached out to you to talk about what they're going through, how they've lost a loved one, and how they're feeling, that they would be more sympathetic and empathetic. But then that's when we have to learn who's really a friend. Well, in that moment, I was crazy. In that moment, I did lose it. So when I reached out to her, I reached out because I was expecting to hear, "You're valuable. You're needed. I know your dad has transitioned, but you can still live for him. I often go through life expecting me from other people, when truth is, you will never get you from anybody else. So that is where I take accountability, because I messed up expecting me from somebody else. But getting back into the story, guys, because I did not hear those words of reassurance, I actually tried to end my own life. So I ended up in a local hospital under suicide watch. Now, I know my friends are listening to this podcast, and some of them don't even really know this part of my life. But as I mentioned, this is my healing. So I have to take you through those parts of my life that I buried deep down inside, because I always thought that speaking about this would have me judged. So, if you're here to judge, then I pray that you continue to listen on, so that way you can heal as I heal. So guys, in life, people always say, I have it all together. So how can a person that has it all together be here under suicide watch? How can a person that has it all together try to end her life? I did not know what was ahead, but I had to go through this part of my life so that I could be here before you today, speaking my healing. Now, guys, I stayed hurt by my so-called friends' words for a very long time. I let that moment last 6 years, when in fact the words that she spoke were only 30 seconds long. Isn't that crazy? How can 30 seconds of words turn into 6 years of hurt? Now, because I've experienced loss, I allowed people to stay in my life because being stripped of everything seemed more damaging than freeing myself. So as I went through this part of my life, dealing with going to a psychiatrist, dealing with taking multiple medications, dealing with just uncertain feelings, I only had the support of God and my husband. So first, I want to thank the Creator for keeping me here, because He knew that I had a greater purpose. And I want to thank my husband for staying in the trenches with me when I didn't even know if I could survive. So I thank you. My mother always spoke words to me that reassured me. So one day, as I was laying down and I was going through my healing, I remembered my mother would always say to let go and let God. During this healing, I found myself praying a very specific prayer. I had asked God to remove those things that served me no purpose. I asked Him to remove people who weren't for me. And when I prayed that prayer, people, places, and things started to exit my life left and right. I could only be prepared for what was happening during this process because I asked for the stripping. Now, I bet you guys are wondering, well, what happened to that friend, Paulie? Well, to be absolutely transparent with you guys, I did have to forgive her. But I forgave her simply because they were just words that she spoke. And those words that people speak to us should never, ever define us. The saying is, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. So because her words were 30 seconds long and I stayed hurt for 6 years, that was at the fault of myself. Because like I stated earlier, I allowed her to speak that into me because I thought that she would give me what I would give to my friends. And that's words of reassurance. So I hurt myself in this moment. So in this case, we did reconcile. In the reconciliation, it was just simply to coexist in this world. I spoke to her on how I felt. She did not care. She simply said again, it was just a loss. Now, sometimes people do not understand how to deal with grief. So maybe that was her way of dealing with grief by just recognizing it as a loss. Now, I want to ask you, do you hold on to words? And if so, why are you holding on to those words? Reconcile with those who God says to reconcile with. Free yourself from those that He has shown you over and over again that are bad for you. He showed me twice. Once, when I made the phone call to that friend. Secondly, when I tried to address her on how I felt. I didn't need a third shot for Him to show me who I needed to remove from my life. Now, guys, as we close this episode, I want you to free yourself from those words that broke you. I want you to write out the name and the offense of every person that has hurt you. I want you to look at those offenses and ask yourself, are these forgivable? And if so, is this person still in your life? If the offense is forgivable, forgive and free yourself. If the person is still in your life, I want you to talk to that person about the offense, and then you guys work through it. If it can be worked through, awesome. If it is not something that you can work through, then I want you to go ahead and move on from that past hurt. Heal yourself emotionally and grow personally. I want you to walk with boundaries until you can exit. Do not sit in places that have hurt you. This is a safe space with resources that you may need. Earlier, I did mention suicide. So I want you to contact 988 if you are having thoughts of suicide. If you are in a domestic violence situation by any means, please reach out to 1-800-799-7233. Because until you can exit the situation of a person that has hurt you or is hurting you, I want you to use those available resources. If you need a shoulder, please contact me at healingoutloudpodcast@gmail.com. My podcast is with a K. Guys, until next time, I wish you love and light. We say namaste and exhale to the negativity. I love you all. Peace and blessings.